All right, I closed all those.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Tuesday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Kevin Brockway along as always. Jim Coyle with you as well. On the program today, we will get to talk to Mike DeCourcy as we usually do. He is the great one. And Chronic Hoosier will be along. Plenty to talk about. Some football news. We got to talk to Michael Penix yesterday. We talked to Aaron Wellman. There's just, I hate the block charge call. Let's see. Chris Mack, that's something fun to talk about. And IU basketball is the man in the high castle. You're going to have to Google that reference if you don't know it. And I posted something the other day, Kevin, that said, oh, my God, I must be officially old, because for the first time ever, I did not know who the musical guest and the host was for Saturday Night Live. I had just never heard of it, either of them. And that was a first ever. And then somebody tweeted yesterday, though, that it shows how out of touch you are that you don't know who Bad Rabbit is. I don't care who the hell Bad Rabbit is. He's apparently a top 5. Like, I don't care. But I don't think that's quite that. But yeah, that's not my, I guess my type of music anymore, I guess. But yeah, no, but I don't think that I'd say I'm out of touch, but it's kind of funny. But I just thought it was funny. Do you know who Bad Rabbit was?
No, I know Good Rabbit, but not Bad Rabbit. No. We're getting old.
We're getting older, but I mean, I'm not. There's no way to know every stinking artist that comes along every damn day because hell, they come from so many different places now.
Who is the host?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm all I know is it was someone that the ladies were just fawning over. So
okay,
but something. It's flavor of the minute, I guess. But
yeah,
great game last night in the Big 12. Man, that was another fist fight. Let's see, what was Texas Tech and Oklahoma State? That was a game that was back and forth, man. Oklahoma State ends up winning it 74-69 over number 18 Texas Tech. That was just fun to watch. Man, Matt McClung couldn't get going to start. Then he gets going, but it was Oklahoma State didn't have Cade Cunningham, he had kept picking up fouls, and they didn't have him for large chunks. I'm like, and they started off the second half 0 for 9. Oklahoma State did, and they were down. I'm like, there's no way. Then next thing you know, they're tied. It was crazy. It was just a fun game to watch. But then you got the Dukies, Kevin. The Dukies are making a run. And then, of course, ESPN is, oh, my God, do they want Duke in there so badly? Because Mr. Bracketology, Joey Brackets, the other day was talking about before they won that game. Oh, Duke, they can do if they do this, if they do that. They want them in there so badly. Man, oh, man. But if they keep winning, got a shot. Michigan State has a shot. If they can get on a heater, I mean, you're going to have to get on a heater, but they have the chance to do it. Those teams do. It would be odd to see that, but hey, that's what the spring basketball is about, right?
Yeah, well, I actually did a story today about the Big Ten teams on the bubble, including Indiana, what they need to do to get in. But you look at Michigan State's schedule. I mean, they've got Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan twice, rematch with Indiana, and at Maryland, who's playing well. So I mean, that's a brutal stretch. If they can somehow make a run in the late season, they will have definitely earned it because there are a lot of opportunities for statement wins. But the Michigan State team that we saw at Indiana in the second half was really clicking in terms of, and Aaron Henry. I mean, he was just tremendous. And you sometimes wonder the 2018 class, right? I mean, they took Demezy Anderson, they didn't take Aaron Henry. Think of where Indiana could be if they had Henry on its team right now as a complement to Trace Jackson Davis as opposed to Demezi. And that's proof that, in my mind, that, recruiting, it's not all about stars. It's about evaluation. It's about fit. It's about
player development
that that are going to fit in your program. And I think if you look at this team, I think that's probably where this coaching regime has probably failed more than anything. Thinking, Rob Finney has not turned out to be an impact point guard. There were a lot of people that thought that he was going to be coming out of high school. So there have been some misevaluations there, or perhaps some development issues. But I think this is why Indiana is where it is right now. Fighting for an NCAA tournament berth.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But that's not going to change, as we've seen. It is what it is. Games coming up tonight. There is a slate of games tonight, man. Tons of games to look forward to as I'm scrolling through that big, gigantic list. I'm just passing the lower ones, trying to get Illinois, Michigan State. There's a game you talked about there tonight. There's a shot for Sparty. They've got them at home. I don't know how much that matters now, we've said, but that is a 7:00 tilt. What's that game on? I can't see. It doesn't tell me what it's on, but I'll have to find that out another way. But TCU West Virginia over in the Big 12. But I'm going to be watching Illinois, Michigan State. And then after that, Louisville, Notre Dame. We're going to come back to Chris Mack here in a second. Auburn Fleurs, your Florida team, Auburn, Florida. Baylor is scheduled to come back tonight. And man, oh man, did they give them the right team. They're taking on Iowa State. Iowa State is the Nebraska of the Big 12. They just flat out suck. And there's just no other way to say it. I'm sorry, but Iowa State is just, what is their record? Oh, yeah, they're 2-, well, there you go. They're 2-16 and 0-13 in the Big 12. So I didn't even know that. But, yeah, they are winless. But every time I look up, somebody's just beating the crap out of them. And Baylor, man, that is the perfect comeback game. But I guess you could say it's probably the perfect comeback game from COVID because you're not going to be challenged. But then again, you're not going to be challenged. Michigan, when they came back, it was against a Wisconsin team that had them down by 14, and they had to work, and they did. They overcame that in the second half, and man, they haven't missed a beat since then. I wonder if we had one of the players on, I'd ask him, but I wonder if Baylor would rather be challenged when they come back or have a game like this against a cream puff.
I think, you would rather probably have a game to settle in because, I mean, even if you looked at that Michigan game and how it still took them a half. When you play uphill like that, puts a lot of stress on your team. Michigan was fortunate enough to pull it out, but I think they've been on a run since then. But I do like the Wolverines in terms of what they bring to the table, man. Hunter Dickinson, the size at every position. Franz Wagner is probably going to be a future is going to be an NBA draft pick. I mean, they just have a lot of talent. They're going to be coming here at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. And, you look at Indiana right now, they got 4 games remaining. And if you were to circle a definite L in that stretch, I would have to say it's Michigan here. And if that's the case, then Indiana will finish 6-6 at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, which, all right, no fans, we get it. Archie's made that point. But still, I mean, if you look back on the season and Indiana doesn't make the NCAA tournament, I look at that 6-6 home record and I say to myself, that is the reason. And a bunch of winnable games at home that you didn't pull out, that you let slip away. Northwestern, Rutgers, and Michigan State being the 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just, it is what it is. So we'll talk more about that later as well. Oklahoma in action tonight as they take on another cream puff. So it's a cream puff night in the Big 12 so far. Number 7 Oklahoma taking on Kansas State. Now here we go. Here's the creme de la creme, the 9:00 game. Kansas at Texas. That's one to look forward to there.
Kansas starting to play a little better too. They're back in the top 25. Bill Self has got it going a little bit, and they can be a dangerous team. It's a funny thing in the tournament. And we've talked about this. We've alluded to how college football is so different than, you take a look at the NFL and who won the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Bucks. You look at their regular season, it wasn't great until December, but the team that plays the best at the end of the season is rewarded. And that's going to be the same, that'll be the same issue. That's what makes March Madness great, is that, the team that plays the best at the end of the season is rewarded. It's not that way in college football, as we all know. That's the one disappointing, and it won't be that way until they expand the playoff a little bit.
Will, if you'll go to the site and there's I'll wait till the break. Never mind. We're going to hear from Michael Penix later. I should have thought of that, but we got to talk to him yesterday. But Mike DeCourcy will be coming up next, so we'll do that later. But Michael Penix, good to see him. Yesterday we had a presser with him. He looked great. Seemed in good spirits. We talked to Aaron Wellman as well, Indiana strength coach, but not that he's not important, but the most important man of the hour, of course, Michael Penix, Kevin, and whether or not he's going to be healthy when Indiana starts its season next September at Iowa, because daggone it, I don't mean to ignore the 67 Rose Bowl season, but this could be the most important season in the history of Indiana football. And that is no doubt, because they're in position to not compete, but to play toe-to-toe with the best of the best at the top of this league, the Big Ten. And this league is not what it was back then. It is much superior than it was then. Ohio State is now a juggernaut, but to do it now would be beyond expectations of exponential levels. But if they can get a healthy Michael Penix, my gosh, is this going to be fun?
Well, I looked this up, Jim, over the last two seasons. Indiana 10-2 when Michael Penix starts, 4-5 when he doesn't over the last 2 years. I mean, that's how important he is. I think he just elevates everyone around him and just brings a different level of confidence to that offense. And, I think it'll be big. A big offseason for Nick Sheridan and for the offense, which did not start very well in a lot of its games this last season, other than, the Michigan game, Michigan having some defensive issues all season long. But that's going to be big too, getting the offense clicking, getting the running game going. As you alluded to, the new running backs coach, DeLan McCullough. And let's see if some of these running backs can really develop and take off. A guy like Samson James and Tim Baldwin and David Ellis. That's going to be big. So offensively, I think the defense, you do have a new defensive coordinator too, but I think the defense is in pretty good shape with what they have coming back. But can the offense, take that next step and, you have everything going in harmony?
Absolutely, man. We're looking forward to it. But we got lots more to get to. Mike DeCourcy, the great Mike DeCourcy, is going to join us. Chronic Hoosiers on today as well. And plenty more to talk about. I want to talk about the block charge call. I'm sick of the block charge call in college basketball. I am just totally over it, man. It is ruining this game. And it's just like the flop thing. It's they got a handle on that, but they got to get a handle on the block charge. We're coming back with Mike DeCourcy here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. They have a 0% sales event going on for just another week till the end of this month. It's your chance now. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com. We're back right after this.
Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. And right now, Andy Moore Honda is having their...
I didn't send the link to anyone else, Will.
I already sent it to Mike.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Is my volume okay? God, I bought this chair and I love it, but it's not. It doesn't have rollers, and so it screws with me, man. I hate it. Oh, mama. Anything you want that you got going, Kevin?
We could talk a little bit about the big trip at the end, which is tomorrow, which is, that story tomorrow, or we could talk about A little bit more about
Remind me.
the story you did today. The story you did today about what Big Ten teams have to do to get in the tournament.
10 in the 10 a.m. hour. We'll probably grab that Michael Penix. He's on the site. Where is it? Homepage.
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah, he's right there. I think probably the first question was probably good enough. Can you start at 18 seconds? Just don't have the question in there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. Perfect, he says. I forgot to hit the text line. I'll have to do that, guys. There at the end. Bring that up on this one, too. Okay. Let's see. Today
He's
is
not on
Tuesday.
yet,
But what?
He's not on yet, but it's sent to him.
Okay.
French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Summersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
This is great. Little doobies.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. You can get 0% APR financing right now for about another week. It's the only time they've ever done that. So if you haven't, man, get out there. Let them know you heard it on Indiana Sports Beat. We'll get you a little Indiana package put together as well. More to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com. Man, I may head down to French Lick this weekend. Indiana taking on Michigan on Saturday. No. Yeah, it is. No, I got my schedule all jacked up. We got Rutgers coming up on Wednesday, and then it is Michigan on Saturday.
It's gonna be tough. That's
Right.
Listen, Jim,
Right.
that's they're the best. They're the cream of the Big Ten for sure. How are you going to match up with Hunter Dickinson inside? I think that's the big question. I mean, 7-1, and he's playing hard and playing physical, and he's the Big Ten's freshman of the year, in my opinion. I mean, that guy is just he's tough inside to deal with. And then you got Livers on the wing, and you've got a lot to handle there.
Yeah, they're just a good team and playing well, and it's fun to see that. It's fun to watch these games that are fun. Mike DeCourcy joining us. Mike, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing well, Jim. How are you?
Well, we're warm. It's I think it's going to be in the 50s today, which means it's going to be extraordinarily wet around here because we have got a ton of snow yet. So looking forward to that, getting rid of this stuff. But me and Kevin were just talking about that and all the great games that we've been watching, whether it's the Big 10, the Big 12. It's just been really fun. And I'm looking forward to a great tournament. But there's something I got a beef, Mike. The block charge, I can't take it anymore in these games. It's just I hate the block charge call just all the way around, which I know you can't completely eliminate it, but man, it's just it seems like without it, there's not a possession anymore that doesn't have a block charge call.
Well, I don't know if it's quite that bad, but there have been some really terrible ones. I will totally agree with that. It's been You know, there have been some awful block charge calls. I will not disagree with you on that. And I use as I would use as an example of that the Kentucky Vanderbilt game from Tuesday a week ago, an absolute disaster call. Keon Brooks had it was late in the game, and it was kind of a clinching kind of play. If they get the bucket, the game is over. If they don't, they still have to defend and maybe have some challenge to finish it off. And he gets free down the right side, and there is no one in front of him. And as he gets himself into jumping, and technically his toes might not have left the floor at that point, a guy jumps from behind the basket out of the no charge circle and jumps in front of him. And he has already committed. I mean, he literally is in the process of jumping off the floor to slam the ball. And it's possible that his toes had not left the floor yet. I'm sorry, that's not how just because your feet have not left the floor does not mean you're not jumping. People do not, like, if we had jetpacks, maybe we wouldn't have to like gather our bodies and get into the. To say that he was not in the process of jumping is to say that Usain Bolt only starts running when he's 50 meters down the track. It's ridiculous. And so he goes up in the air. The guy hops underneath him. There's minimal contact. The guy falls down, and one of the season's best dunks and an important basket. And eventually not a consequential basket for Kentucky, but an important basket gets wiped out. And it's just that's got to stop.
What's the
I
solution?
don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. Do you move the circle up a little bit, or what do you think?
I think we should go to the NBA charge rule, which was essentially the 2013-14 charge rule, which says that if you are not in legal guarding position by the time the player gathers into his move, which basically means the ball's coming off the floor into his grip, which would basically mean it's at his hip. He's not dribbling it again. He is now in the process of making a play, either passing or jumping to shoot or jumping to dunk or whatever. At that point, if you're not there then you're not legal. And officials said that was too hard to call. And coaches complained because there weren't any charges anymore. And fans celebrated because there weren't any charges anymore.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I agree 1,000%. It's exactly what it should be, because it slows down the game. It changes the outcome of the game. It changes the flow. It's not in the spirit of the game. And I just agree. Everything you said, I agree. And if they change it, people will warm up to it like they do everything. Nobody likes change until it finally comes around. But that was my little rant.
Charges, though.
Nobody
likes charges.
It's just no fun, but in a year of fun. But how are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well. I will say this. I will say this. If there's something that I could do to win a college basketball game, there's something wrong with that particular rule. And I could tell you that although I may not be eager to, I could jump in front of Keon Brooks and fall down as well as anybody. And I am 60 years old, so there should be nothing that I could do, with the possible exception of making a free throw. There should be nothing that I could do to help win a college basketball game, but I could jump in front of somebody and fall down.
You mentioned that magic number. I think that's a sweet spot if you live in the state of Indiana this week. If you're heading towards a vaccine, I guess, is that right?
I think it is. Yes, today is a good day for those of us who have hit that milestone.
Well, when I saw that, I kind of got excited because I'm like, oh, God, I'm in the next group. I'm like, oh, baby, come on. This is getting excited. Just to be that close, you've brightened my day. So I'm getting closer. So I'm really excited here, man. So thanks for that early present. I was not aware of that. I did not see that yet. So you've really fired me up, man.
I'm glad to hear it.
Chris Mack video. Did you see that one?
I did, yes.
Just funny. I just thought it was funny. But he kind of gets himself in some pickles.
He does. Some of it is a really highly competitive person that he is. The video from the fall when they were trying to
the schedule issue, decide
on a date and a venue and all of that. That video was was really in the spirit of who he is as a coach, and he
It was
basically
funny.
he honed that through being under recruited, maybe coming out of college, and winding up at Evansville, and then going to Xavier, which was the number two program, at least from a public interest standpoint, from a fan base standpoint in the city. And then he coached there, and then he coached at Wake, which is like the number 4 program in the state. So he's always had that chip. And that's a good thing. That's why he was a perfect hire for Louisville. I think this time, friends, getting out, having a good time. Probably it's fine for that. It's probably fine for friends to have a good time. It's probably not smart to video you and your friends having a good time.
Yeah, don't ever let someone video you. That just has to be a hard and fast rule if you're a Division I college coach.
And
yes,
don't have Africa playing in the background either.
Yes, that was a horrible selection, a horrible musical selection.
No, they should
Mike,
have
I'm curious.
Dan or something.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. I'm curious. So, look, getting back to the Big Ten here, I'm curious about the fact that doesn't look like everyone's going to get 20. It looks like the whole thing is going to be unbalanced. I'm looking at Michigan's schedule right now, and it's 5 more. They're going to have 16. Illinois will have 19. But I mean, if Illinois finishes like 2 games in the loss column behind Michigan, do they have a legitimate gripe about the Big Ten championship, or do you just chalk it up as this is just a wacky COVID year?
Oh, it's just a year. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think that if things were to stop now, I don't think anybody could say that Michigan's not a worthy champion. I mean, they went into the most difficult arena this year, at least the most difficult opponent, their opposing arena, and played in one of the great college basketball games of the year, if not the great college basketball game of the year, and they won. I don't think anybody could say they're not legitimate champions, worthy champions. So they still don't. It doesn't end today. So they still have some other things they're going to have to do. And if somebody is somehow able to usurp them, then good for them. I think it's going to be hard, but I don't think that anybody has any reason to feel slighted. Ohio State, if they had won that game, would have put Michigan in reach of Illinois and to a lesser extent themselves, but they didn't. They had a chance to win the game. They didn't finish it well. They made some very curious decisions with the basketball late in the game, and they weren't able to succeed. So I think I think Michigan is a great champion for this league if indeed they finish it off and continue to play as they have.
I don't want to talk about it too much because we'll be talking about it a ton as well. But Indiana, they have their next opportunity, I guess you could say, Mike, tomorrow night as they travel to Rutgers, which is not going to be an easy chore, of course. But Indiana's looking at the possibility of losing out with their schedule because Rutgers is not an easy match. Then you've got Michigan. Then you've got to go to Purdue, and you've got a game with Michigan State again. But tomorrow's game first. They've got to do something to change the course of their fortunes. Another loss is you're the man of bracketology. Where are they right now?
I believe I had them as one of the last 11 seeds, which on my bracket, some others do it differently. I have my first 4 are on the 12 bracket. Are on the 12 seed line. So they are just beyond the first 4. But they can't afford to lose to Rutgers, or at least they lost a lot of cushion when they lost the Michigan State game. They were looking at a final stretch of games that was difficult, and that they basically needed to go 3-2 in. And now, with where they are, how do you finish that 3-2? It's going to be difficult. They made it more difficult for themselves by performing poorly in the second half against the Spartans, a team. They obviously Michigan State. They made some changes. They made some adjustments. It changed who they were as a team. It made them better. They became more dynamic by making the changes that they did, playing Gabe Brown more, relying on Marcus Bingham a little bit more. They were a different team than they had been. But even with that, you still had a lead. for much of the first half. You still had a lead into the second half. You didn't get caught until about the 11-minute mark, and then after that 11-minute mark pass, and you'd been caught. You really didn't play well for the rest of the game, and that's that puts Indiana in a very difficult circumstance at this point, with Rutgers, Michigan State, and Purdue left. No more gimmies. There aren't very many gimmies in the Big Ten anymore. They're all out of them, and it's going to be very difficult to split those games. If they do, I say they're fine. If they split those games, they'll be 14-12. That's about as close to 500 as you'd want to be. And then the thing that they would have to do is go into the Big Ten tournament at whatever spot they are and not lose the first time. And I think with where they are, that would mean probably playing someone at or near the bottom. And so that you wouldn't have to worry too much about that you would get that quote unquote gimme back. Again, there are very few easy games in the Big Ten, but it would give you the chance to get in a little bit of padding, and then then maybe even continue on and perform well in the Big Ten tournament.
Mike, actually, I think this year, if you're, say, in that scenario, if you're 9-10, I think you're playing probably in the 8-9 game. So you might have like a Maryland or a Rutgers again. That's what it looks more like to me. It doesn't look like they'd be in the bottom four in that scenario.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, if they do win too, they'll probably not have to play, in Nebraska again like
Wednesday
they did
night.
a year ago.
Yep.
But again, right. But I do think that it's you at the very least need to split. And if you can do 3-1, then you don't have any more worries, because the 3-1 that you'd be getting would be all high quality victories.
In this season of seeding, do the regions is there any rhyme or reason other than it's just straight seeding, right? I think they've already announced, they're just going straight by numerical seeding as far as what region you end up in, unless, of course, Purdue won't be playing at Mackey, of course, and Indiana could not play at Assembly Hall. Mike, but
there's also conference rules that really make that the ability.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jim.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying that there are conference rules. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. There are conference rules that change the way that one seeds. For instance, the first four teams are Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Ohio State. The fifth team is Illinois. That's a pretty clear for just about everybody who's doing this right now. Me at Fox, Jerry Palm, Joe Lenardi, all the others. Those five are pretty much. Now that's not to say they can't change, but as of today, as of Tuesday at 9:25 or whatever, those five are about as set in stone as you can have today. And so, all right. So if you're going to do this by straight seeding, then the fifth team, Illinois, would be paired with the fourth team, Ohio State, right? Well, wrong, because you can't put the first four teams from a conference in the same bracket. That breaks the conference rules. Especially if you're on the top four seed lines. So there you are. You're on 1 and 2. So now Illinois has to go with somebody else. Well, they can't go with Michigan, the next best team, because they're Big Ten also. So now they got to go play Baylor, which is the number 2 overall team. And so already we're 5 teams into the bracket, and we have abandoned the idea of, one plays 8, 2 plays 7, 3 plays. We're already out. So it does make it harder to do that. Geography matter.
Yeah, because then you got the Big 12, who's they're going to be sending a ton of teams as well, so they're going to have the same situation. But where can folks go? Well, let's make sure we give your bracketology address to as this part of the season now. Make sure that people can get there every week. We're going to have them put this up on a sticky thread up on the Hoosier.com, and people can reach that all the time. But where is the address?
You go to @CBB on Fox on Twitter or Instagram. I believe Facebook as well. All the key social media sites at CBB on Fox, and you can find my brackets, and they are updated twice a week, Mondays and Fridays, usually around a little after noon. And because I gotta get time to get them finished, and then the edit team is out in California, so they got to get to work in the morning. And so usually it's right around noon or 12 or somewhere between noon and 1. And so my most recent bracket was posted yesterday. And this one had 9 Big Ten teams in it because I took Minnesota out. Some others have left Minnesota in between the losses that they have that have dragged their record down and not having any road wins at this point. I felt that there were more qualified teams. But they're very close, and they do have a game coming up, a rescheduled road game against Nebraska, and that will give them an opportunity to scrub that item from their, from the negative list, because there has never been a at-large team that was selected with 0 road wins.
Yep.
Yeah, and and of all years for them to struggle on the road, this is the oddest year of all time because these road games are basically not really road games. If you put a blindfold on them, they wouldn't know where the hell they were. It's nuts. It continues to get crazier. Mike, I hope you have a great week, crazy, man. Go ahead. Yeah, what's coming up next for you, Mike? The people need to know about to make sure we read, because that's always the good stuff.
Yes, I am working on a piece about Roy Williams, who's am I gone?
Oh, you're good. You're good. I think we just have a delay. Roy Williams.
I'm working on a piece about Williams, whose next victory, his next victory will be his 900th. He will become the 5th coach to win 900 games as a Division I coach. And I am looking at the biggest wins along that road to 900. What were the most memorable and the defining victories of that run to 900?
They were many, I can tell you
and
that.
That will post Mike DeCourcy, later today or early tomorrow.
Make sure you look at that up, Mike. I cannot thank you as always. We appreciate you, man. It's always fun.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
You bet. The great Mike DeCourcy joining us from Fox, from the BTN studios, and from the Sporting News. I think he had a drag there. He had a delay. It couldn't was behind us, but it's always great to talk to him. And yeah, for bracketology, go to at CBB on Fox. We'll get that posted up as well. But we got to get off here and hit a break. We'll be back with more from Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. I could go on with him all time. He just had a lag. He had a lag.
Yeah, he had a little lag. Yeah.
I could talk with him for the whole segment. That would be fun.
Do you want Chronic on now or at
10? Yeah, let's just go ahead and do him now.
Chronic Hoosier.
That gives us the 10 o'clock hour to talk about whatever. Oh man, the block charge call wouldn't want to talk about. The stupidest call of all time took place in Assembly Hall. When we talk about that again, they called a freaking block charge on Caleb Swanigan and Thomas Bryant simultaneous. That is bullshit. That's not even possible. It's one or the other. They are so gutless.
Caleb Swanigan, and when was this? In 2016 or something?
It was a game. Officials are just idiots, man.
They've got a hard job, just like us.
They do have a hard job, but they're never held accountable. And it's dude, they get paid to do their job. So, but their jobs are changing outcomes
of games.
Do we get held accountable, you think?
Yeah. Oh, boy, ever.
I know.
About the
jump
people.
on Twitter.
What was it yesterday? Oh, yes. I had someone comment yesterday that everything I was talking about was negative. I'm like, I was like, you got something positive to talk about this basketball team? I've asked. I say, hey, send it to me. We'll talk about it. I'm sorry. We talk so positively about everything else because there's nothing but positive things to talk about with football and soccer and baseball and the Colts or whatever.
Well, I think that there is a balance, like anything else,
Well, I also think there's some snowflakes that just they want to think that it's rainbows and unicorns all the time. And
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not.
no question.
And when they don't get that, they don't know what. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie. I mean, if you're doing that, then you're basically lying.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. Or you don't know what you're talking about, or both.
Well, it's also the proliferation of fan sites and fan media too.
That's what I'm talking about. Those Facebook fanboy types that it's just everything's rainbows and unicorns. Yay, we're cheerleaders. And I'm like, going, dude, I'm not a cheerleader. I'm not paid by IU doesn't pay me.
Yeah.
You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Tuesday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, where a 0% sales event's going on for about another week. You better get out there. They've never done it before. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Will, do we have Chronic with us?
I'm getting him hooked up. Give me another minute or so.
No worries. Chronic Hoosier joining us here in just a second as we look forward to Indiana taking on Rutgers tomorrow night as they travel on the road. Yeah, I had to draw blanks. We've been talking about so daggone many games
Exit
coming up.
Exit 16 on the New Jersey Turnpike,
Yeah, well,
New
I won't be
Brunswick.
there, but maybe the boss will be there. Maybe he'll take in that game.
Exactly.
So.
Or John Bon Jovi too. He could be there. You never know.
Just tell Chronic to pop in whenever he's ready to go and just start talking away.
Indiana has John Mellencamp and New Jersey has the boss.
I wonder if he'll be back into Simon Scott Assembly Hall for any games next year when they come back. Haven't seen him for a while. But yeah, there you go. The boss and Mellencamp. Yeah. We ready yet, Will? I don't think so. So
yes, we are.
All right, Chronic, how's it going, brother?
It's going, man. Happy to be back. Sorry to report another roller coaster of a week last week, where Indiana's probably in no better shape than the last time we talked.
Yeah, we just got off with Mike DeCourcy, and surprisingly, he still has them in the last seed. They're number 11, but I know people think, well, it goes down to 16. Those seeds are accounted for, basically. So the last 11 seed, they're kind of they cannot afford to lose another game, and there are no easy games on their schedule remaining, and that includes the game at Michigan State.
Yeah, they have effectively once again painted themselves into a corner here when it comes to their tournament chances. Always seeming to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here. What was probably the worst loss they could have taken in the remainder of the season, they found a way to do here last Saturday against Sparty. And, like you said, it doesn't get a whole lot easier from here. You get to go to Piscataway. You got Michigan, who's, one of the three best teams in the nation right now, coming to Assembly Hall, which, quite frankly, brings absolutely zero juice right now. Probably the most disappointing thing among many this season is the fact that home court advantage means absolutely nothing to Indiana. They now have a losing record in Big Ten play at the Hall. And it's really, really disappointing that they can't protect home court because, quite frankly, games like Michigan State, games like Rutgers previously, Northwestern for that matter, to start Big Ten play. Those are all home games that in a normal year, normal times, you can pretty much bank on Indiana riding the crowd's energy and finding a way to win those. We'd probably be talking about a 5 or a 6 seed at that point, if not a little higher, perhaps. And now, having dropped all those games and many more in between, Indiana once again finds themselves on the precipice of not making the tournament. And now you've got to find a way to steal. I'm guessing at least a pair of wins against the remaining 4 conference games left, regular season games left, and then you got to handle some business in the Big Ten tournament. Because it's just, they've played with fire all season long, and now they find themselves in a position to get burned pretty badly by it in the most disappointing way. So we'll see where it goes. There's still plenty of basketball left, still, plenty of time to play themselves into it. But, the biggest thing right now, just the complete lack of consistency, particularly on the defensive end of the floor, particularly from the starting backcourt and offensive production, has completely hamstrung this team's chances, and once again found themselves right on the edge of being on the outside looking in here come March Madness.
Absolutely. Yesterday we had the opportunity to talk to Michael Penix for the first time in, maybe I guess it's been quite a while, but he looked to be in great spirits, talking about he's on track. He says he thinks he's ahead of schedule, which is great news for Indiana football fans as we're heading into spring practice. The dates were announced for that. Doubt we're not going to have a spring game, I doubt, for people to attend, so don't worry about that. But just to get in that mood is great to see as we get closer to spring football and the thought of Indiana football next season and fans being in there.
Yeah, that was the other big news yesterday, in addition to finding out that Penix is on track in his rehab, in his recovery. Word it came out that Indiana's planning on 100% capacity at Memorial Stadium. I guess that was kind of conditioned on the fact that that's the plan. They're going to gear up as though it's going to happen, with the rationale being it'd be a lot easier to scale it down from full operations in the event that we're not quite there yet, rather than having to ramp it up late in the game. But we are starting to see tons and tons of positive trends. State of Indiana just moves vaccinations to 60 and up today. So every week we get a little bit closer to returning back to normal around here. And with Penix going to miss a significant portion of spring ball, summer camp, it's a great opportunity for Jack Tuttle to kind of sharpen his chops a little bit, get some reps with the first team pretty much unabated, as well as all the understudies in that quarterback room, and give those guys a chance. So hopefully you got a pretty healthy quarterback competition whenever Penix is green-lighted and cleared to come back to full go again. So all signs look good. Still a little bit weird to be in Bloomington talking about, optimistic about football on the anniversary of Bobby Knight's chair toss in late February, rather than talking a whole lot about hoops. But that's just kind of the world we're in right now. So that was good news, but also great to see everybody else firing back up. Baseball is about ready to start the season again. Soccer's got their second match today. All the sports that got paused are now starting to resume to competition. And it's just a good time all around 17th Street, with the exception of the men's side of Cook Call right now, because the women are certainly holding their own, having just reached an 11th ranking, highest in program history right now. So not everything's bad with basketball in Bloomington.
No, as a matter of fact, being out and about, seeing the other night, there were lines out of virtually every restaurant. Of course, we did the post-game show at Yogi's after the game, and we'll be back there tomorrow night. But there were lines everywhere, and that was the best thing that I saw, man. It was people out and about, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, this feels good.
Yeah, it's great to see. A big part of it too is with the students back. Probably the first time in my lifetime, upon their return, I haven't had any moaning or grumbling about the difficulty in finding a parking spot or the crowds everywhere. It's just such a marked difference in town when you've got the full campus community back in town. just the energy, the excitement, the cash getting spread everywhere. It's just good to have our town back, good to have the students back, good to have athletic competition back across the board. Unfortunately we can't get into any of the games right now without those press passes. But it sure is good to see everybody back out on the court, on the field, doing what they do here. A lot of folks, they absolute ton of folks, thousands of them, just worked. We're not even a full year since COVID shut everything down, and continue to be amazed on a weekly basis at just all the effort, all the energy that people poured into to keeping this thing together and to getting to the point where we are today.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested, Chronic, to see how much of a bump there are in season ticket sales for football, for Indiana football. I do expect a bump, but I don't know that I'm expecting the gigantic bump like everybody else is, because I think Indiana football fans are still like, yeah, I'm going to wait. But I think there's going to be a lot of game day walk-ups this year. But I hope that they fill that stadium, because there would be nothing funner than to see those games. And it's a hell of a schedule. The full schedule's out. You've got a Cincinnati team at home. You got Ohio State at home. It's going to be a hell of a season. So it would be great to see that, because there's nothing funner than being in a full football stadium on a Saturday afternoon. It's just a blast.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm biting at the bit. My whole family's biting at the bit just to be able to get back out again. Forget the fact that this is, arguably the best position the football program's been in a generation to start the season, with all the buzz, with all the returning talent, with the recent success that they've enjoyed. More than anything, though, man, I want to get back out with my parents. Both got vaccinated, their second shot last week. I cannot wait to take advantage of all those things that we've had to pause, all those sacrifices we've made in the last year, to get back to those moments. Because at the end of the day, when you look at everything that's lost, it's the moments, it's the memories, it's those shared experiences, which at least in my family really mean the most. So, you throw in a winning football team to boot, can't wait. But honestly, I'd be the first in line if they were coming off an 0-12 season, just to have a chance to get back out there and to get back to normal. Because honestly, it's one of the things that makes living in this area so fun, so enjoyable. Is just the endless amount of entertainment afforded by IU athletics, and just the camaraderie that happens with it. Cannot wait to get to tailgate. I could probably cook 3 seasons worth of tailgate menus right now. We're ready to go. But hopefully, like you said, hopefully there's a lot of people that get a chance to enjoy something that a lot of folks haven't seen in their lifetime, and that's winning football in Indiana.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing I am personally looking forward to is trying to tailgate some before the games, because we're going to do that. Have a big Indiana Sports Speed, Andy Moore Honda, and all of our other guys out there. It's to have fun, because there's not been enough of that for Indiana. And I think for a football program, you've got to have that stuff going on out there. And I'm not saying that there's not people out there, especially on the grass side. It's a lot more fun over there, it seems. But there needs to be more. Just more. There you go. More is all you get. More.
Yeah, no, and that's the one thing Indiana has long, taken a lot of pride in their tailgate. Never lost one yet, until COVID settled in. But this is the one thing. This has been the missing piece that a lot of Indiana fans haven't got to enjoy, and that's reason to stay in the stadium after halftime, reason to stay in your seat when the game's over, to hear the team sing the fight song, and to hear the band play the alma mater, and then sing, all those traditions that come, and all the happy emotions, which have often been kind of a foreign concept in Memorial Stadium. This is the chance where you actualize that dream and understand what it's supposed to be about. And it's here, it's in front of us. Unfortunately, we were deprived of the chance to go take part in that this year. But like I said, I keep circling back. It's one of the things that makes fall in Indiana so fun. Those afternoons over on 17th Street with your friends, with your family, Yeah, honestly, and this is one of the things I've enjoyed with my my strange Twitter persona is just the amazing people I've met in the tailgate field. It never would have been made, but for the fact that we have acres and acres of room and space to congregate and to get a chance to meet each other and to share the experience and take it in. And I can't wait to get back to it, man.
Looking forward to it, brother. Appreciate you joining us as always.
Big one tomorrow, man. Hopefully some brighter days ahead for IU.
Chronic Hoosier with us, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. You got a 0% sales event going on right now. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Hey, we got more coming up here. Kevin Brockway's with us. I'm Jim Coyle, and we'll be back to talk about more. We're going to hear from Michael Penix. Back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios after this.
Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. And right now, Andy Moore Honda.
Did you see that comment Josh Pastner made?
No, what did he say?
Jackass. Really, 11 teams from the ACC tournament should be in the NCAA tournament every year. This is the best league in the country. Of all people to say that idiot, how the hell does he still have a job? He cheated.
How did?
Well, I guess same reason that Wade White has a job and Sean Miller has a job.
Yeah.
But who's a bigger criminal? Sean Miller or Archie Miller?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Michigan State beat Duke head-to-head. So I mean, Pastner's argument's out of the water. What were some of the other crossover games? The fact that
of course it is. It's ridiculous.
Indiana took Florida State to overtime in Tallahassee, and Florida State's the best team in the ACC. And Indiana's a middling Big Ten team. And what does that tell you? This year, the Big Ten is vastly superior.
Dude, I know it's for him, but for him to make that statement is a joke.
Yeah,
it cracks me up.
Yeah,
I think Duke is going to. Man, they're playing a lot better. They may weasel their way in.
Well, they're playing better without Jalen Johnson.
Well, yeah, and Dockage is loving it. What's his name? Boeheim was all pissy about that. What's that last night? Oh, Jay Billis. Yeah, I know more about basketball than Jay Billis. Blah, blah, blah. It was so funny. Yeah. Boeheim starts, the bigger his nose gets, the more trouble he starts to get into.
Well, he's, we might call it.
Old?
Yeah, he's out, he's lost a hop on his fastball, let's put it that way.
Yes.
But look, he could have stepped away a few years ago and would have protected his legacy a little bit. But he wants
those guys usually don't. Yeah, those guys usually don't do that though.
They don't. Yeah,
we got a lot of texts to get to, folks. So I'm seeing them. No, they're not bad. They're just all over the place because usually what happens is a text will come in right after we've moved on to the next subject, unfortunately. But I'll get to all of them.
It's chronic.
Penix not running yet, but yeah, it says he's ahead of schedule. Yeah. Oh, you got that clip, Will?
Yeah, I got it ready.
Cool.
World-class golfing and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tea?
Welcome back to Sports Beat here on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway sitting in. Jim Coyle here as always. Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Let's get over to some of these text messages on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Let's see. Penix not running yet, but says he's ahead of schedule from Tim down in New Albany. Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's hear from Michael Penix as we got a chance to talk to him yesterday for the first time in a minute. Let's hear what he has to say about where he is in his rehab.
Right now, I'm on schedule. If not, maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. I've been working extremely hard to get back. I'm doing everything I can to go out and just continue to help motivate the team. Still be the leader. Even though I can't do certain activities. But I've been doing real good, progressing every week, and I feel myself getting a lot stronger and feeling more comfortable in my body still.
That's what you want to hear. I mean, next season is a gigantic season for Indiana football, as they are poised. I think you can go back into history. Of course, I wasn't there in '67, but there's no way that what they have ready, if Michael Penix is healthy, to me, without question, would be the most talented team in the history of this football program. You just look at the Ty Freifogel and Michael Penix and those kind of guys and the coaches that are in place. And it's set up for a monster season with a healthy Michael Penix. The coaching staff, the moves that Tom Allen has made, I've never been more impressed. He has just really, since he took over as head or since he gave up the DC position and really focused on head coaching, he has really become a head coach. And it's a marvel to watch because he's done it in such a short time and he had no experience in that area. And maybe that's what it took to not be tainted by something else. But Kevin, it's just, I continue to be marveled at what he's done, what he's doing, the moves that now he's making, the moves he wasn't making at first. And I was really upset about not getting the right people, but now he is doing that. He learned, he made adjustments, which is what great coaches do. And man, if they can get past that damn Iowa game, they could be undefeated by the time they get to Ohio State. And that would include a win over Cincinnati. We'd be looking at a top 5 matchup. That would be absolutely insane.
Well, the culture that he's built also, I think that's the key for players to want to come back. A player like a Ty Freifogel who could have went to the NFL draft. You're talking about that to me is a special. If Penix gets healthy, that connection we saw last year, Jim, 3 touchdowns against Ohio State, right? They had a rapport. I mean, they had where Penix would trust throwing to him in double coverage and single coverage, no matter what the coverage. He knew that he could make catches in tight windows. That to me is going to be fascinating to watch to continue that build next season. If they could build off what they did last season, that could be extremely special. And then the run game, too, I think is the other aspect also with DeLand McCullough, creating some balance and, complementing what Mike does. But we know with Michael Penix, he's a worker, right? He got back the first time in 8 or 9 months? He's 4 months into it now. So you keep your fingers crossed. You hope there are no setbacks. And, maybe by the summer and by August, by the time fall practices start, he's out there throwing the football like he's brand new.
Yep. Talked a little bit about this earlier. Texas Tech Oklahoma game was really good, although it cost him a 3-team parlay. Yeah, that sucks. Man, there's no way I would bet on Big 12 games right now. Every damn game they play is a fist fight. Alan says Illinois, Michigan State's on Fox Sports 1. It's going to be interesting. If I don't, man, doing it against Indiana is one thing, but if they can, I don't know how Michigan State could getting into Illinois' middle. That's going to be another thing. And controlling DeSomu, man, that dude, he's playing really well.
Yeah, Aaron Henry is not going to be able to get down the lane like that against Kofi Coburn. I don't think the way he did against Indiana on Wednesday. I will say that.
Let's see. Archie has lost 20 home games in 4 years, so he was averaging 5 home losses per year before COVID took fans away. Yeah, Indiana's not been good at home for a while. It used to be a place where people come in and they still do some. They would video, the opposing team would video when they came in there. That's not there anymore. So, but the Archie thing is it's almost not even fun to talk about anymore. It was never fun, but I mean, it's almost anyway, but High school down south, Silver Creek girls won Saturday to go to state. Congratulations to them. Fans in the stands looked like more was allowed. Yeah, there was a lot of fans down south. I think in Jeffersonville or someplace they had a lot going on down there. Scott says we appreciate that honesty, Jim. Thank you very much. It's what I try to bring, man. Can't lie. Some people cannot handle the truth. From Jennifer at Evansville, would love to have something positive. Yes, exactly. I'd love to have, just like football, love to have nothing but positive things to talk about. But I'm not going to lie. It's the truth. Truth's the truth. The truth hurts sometimes. Jennifer feels bad for the kids. Boom. I think that's all of them. So we got everybody in there for right now. Indiana.
You can't handle the truth, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They've got to win 2 out of their last 4 games starting tomorrow night. I obviously tomorrow they pretty much have to win at Rutgers, because if you look at it from future stance, you said it earlier, there's no way in hell they're beating that Michigan team. And I don't see any way that they're going to go to Purdue and do something they haven't done in eons. They're the talented. They're too overwhelmed with talent. And here's, I meant to bring this up, daggone it, because he knows who this is. He introduced me to this show. Indiana has become the man in the high castle. It's a TV show or a series. You'll have to look it up, but it's one in which it's a fantasy deal, but America loses World War II and is now a Nazi occupied. And that's kind of, well, I better not make that reference. So I'm not going to make that reference. I was going to make a reference, but you get in trouble if you can't say stuff. So who knows what you get in trouble for? I forget that. I'm not even going to make that reference. So I'm going to forget about the man in the high castle reference. It may get me in trouble, but Purdue is owning this state right now, Kevin. And it's not going to stop next year. They're set up recruiting wise. The freshmen that they have right now, the freshmen that they have coming in from this state, Indiana is in trouble recruiting wise. And that's hard to imagine saying, but they're in trouble recruiting wise within this state.
Well, it's about evaluation too. And, you got Logan Duncombe coming in next year. He'll help the front court for Indiana, but he's not Trey Kaufman. We watched Trey Kaufman last summer, Jim. And that kid, I'll tell you what, skilled, 6'8", big guy, can do a lot of things. And I think he's going to be a guy that's going to come in right away and contribute as a freshman at the level, at the Big Ten level. I just see it in his ability. And maybe I'm wrong, because I kind of said the same thing about Christian Lander, and it's taken him a while to adjust. And he's still not there yet. But I think with forwards, it's a little different. And I think Trey has the body where he's going to be able to come in and do a lot of good things, but maybe Purdue next year, maybe Matt Painter doesn't have to have him do that based on who he has coming back, especially if a guy like Travion Williams comes back and Zach Edey and Purdue's got a lot, and they'll have a lot coming back next year. If Travion Williams comes back, they'll be set up next year, I think, to be a preseason top 25 team, a team that's going to contend for the Big Ten title. I mean, they're in really good shape right now. And, Matt Painter
has a preseason top 15 team.
Yeah, Matt Painter has them go to the tournament this year, and they'll be going next year. And I guess as it relates to Indiana, if Archie Miller's back, it's definitely a make or break season for him. We know what the buyout situation is. And will Trace Jackson Davis come back? That's going to be the huge question. And if he doesn't, where's the offense going to come from? Because you're losing 9 double-doubles right now, 21 in his career. Where's the rebounding going to come from? Where the block shots going to come from? You're going to have to make out a whole lot of production next year if he goes.
Yeah, it's really difficult to talk about basketball, because I know people don't want to hear a bunch of negative stuff all the time. Hell, it's not fun for me. It leaves you depressed. But
well, you have to diagnose the why too. That's the thing. Like, why is Indiana in this state? And
we have talked about that. But see, ad nauseum, and people don't want to hear some of that. I don't think, Kevin.
What is some to me, it's like, but some of it, you hear some things around the state. Oh, if they try harder, if they're more connected, and so forth. And that's well and good. And listen, I'm actually going to do a story tomorrow on the big trip where they talked about the unity from that 1985 team that went overseas, that played 40 days on an overseas tour, and they were together. And is this Indiana team playing together? I mean, that's something that, you could explore. Or are they simply not talented enough, and were there misevaluations? And I think some of that's true also in terms of some of the guard play is just not as good as shooting, dribbling, passing as a lot of other teams in the Big Ten. Certainly there's front court talent with Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis, but you just don't have that back to Armand Franklin is developing. He's getting a little better, but you don't have enough around him in the backcourt, particularly if you're playing a 3-guard starting lineup.
Well, of course, and we've seen what we've seen. So, but we've talked about those the things that you say, that the where to why. I've been screaming it for a year. Well, not screaming it. I've been saying it behind the scenes for a year. But there's no player development. I mean, we've been talking about this. No player development. They're just these guys. Most of the guys don't get better. The ones that do, it's repetitive. Armand was at home shooting all summer, so we know there are several issues that we can bring up. Recruiting is a serious issue, but I've been talking about that for a long time. And when people were enamored because he was getting Mr. Basketball, what good's that doing you? What are you doing with it? What did you do with the first one? You had 2 NBA players on that first roster. Now, I don't want to get on this bandwagon again because it's the same old crap, but we've been down that road. I listed issue after issue after issue. List something positive. Can somebody please list something positive? It's if there is, I'm not aware of it. I'd love to speak it, but provide it to me and I'll shout it from the rooftop. But what is a positive that has come under this program during these last 4 years? I mean, is there anything? I can't. I truly, honestly, I got nothing, and I'm open. Shoot it to me, anybody. I mean, Kevin, can you think of a single thing that's positive that is a forward moving entity for this program? Not one thing. Can I think?
Well, I've only been here 2 years. So I mean, they were at
in the 2 years. In the 2 years you've been here.
I mean, they were at 20 wins last year. They were about to make the NCAA tournament before COVID struck. I thought that they were building kind of some positive momentum at the end of last year. But it didn't come to fruition with an appearance in March because of COVID. And now this year, you've got 4 games left. You might barely sneak in. But the fact that there's been no substantial. I mean, I do think Armand Franklin's getting a little better. I think Jerome Hunter's getting a little better.
Why did Armand Franklin get better?
You can't just say it's because shooting in the backyard. There's been some work. There's been some development there. And I think Armand still has tons of turnovers. Don't be wrong. I don't think he's far from the finished product. And that's like the next step. And I don't know why Archie has him, rushing the ball up the court half the time. I mean, that's to me, that's not good. That's not putting your players in the best position to succeed. Let's be honest there. Having him I remember him early in the season running the ball up the court against Illinois, dribbling the ball off his body and turning the ball over, an unforced error. I mean, how many times do we see Al Durham dribble the ball off his foot? You're
making me nauseous.
You're talking about calling people out, but I think too, it's like have one point guard, have a guy that's going to be the guy that's going to bring the ball up the court. That's
you mean do something different?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not possible. That's not possible under this philosophy. We've seen that. And he said it. There are no changes. We will do nothing different. This is what it is. We got to take a break. It's making me nauseous. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, we all want more. No one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda Bloomington.
Oh, man. God, it's depressing talking about that. It really is.
You like me mentioning how many times Al Durham dribbles the ball off his foot,
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's Do-do-do-do. They keep acting like this is a money thing, and I think that's total bullshit. That is complete and total bullshit.
$10 million is a lot of money.
It's not about that. You're going to tell me, well, I'll wait till we come back, but you're going to tell me you can't work out a deal. That happens all the time. And then,
well,
how much money has Maryland borrowed?
You work out deals if you can like fire for cause. You know, that's a different thing. You know, that was like with the Jim McElwain stuff or whatever. And remember when they got
Kevin, if you're firing for cause, you don't need to work out a deal.
Yeah,
the deal is built in. That's a clause in the contract, so you don't need to work out a deal if you're firing for cause.
Well, no,
so
but if you fire for, well, I'm just saying that usually buyouts, if you're not firing for cause, you have to pay the full buyouts. If you're firing for cause, usually
Kevin, that's what working out a deal is.
Yeah.
Not working out a deal is just following the contract. Well, yes, that would just be following the contract. What I'm saying is they need to go work out a deal.
Kevin Ollie and Jim McElwain still got money, even though they were fired for cause. Both of those guys still got money.
Anyway, I say you go and say, look, you got 3 years left. We need to work out a deal for half. You leave now.
He's not going to accept that. He's going to want all his money.
He wouldn't accept $5 million less. Just fine. He wouldn't be okay with walking out of here with over $20 million.
No, because he still wants to coach. Also, that's part of the deal. You know what I mean? He's probably
go coach somewhere else. Then go coach somewhere else.
Yeah.
Get a job. If you're such a good coach, then go get a job.
Yeah. Well, if he gets a job somewhere else, then that money's mitigated.
Okay, there you go.
But who's going to hire him? Maybe Penn State.
That's my point exactly. So why the hell do you let them hang on if nobody else will hire him?
Animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick West Bay.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
I want to know, have you ever seen?
Boy, we're going to find some songs that Kevin doesn't know the words to. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Any More Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Finish out. What are you watching tonight? I already listed the games that are going on tonight. A ton of good ones to watch. Kansas, Texas, man, the 9:00 tilt. That's the big one there. But of course, in the Big Ten, you've got Illinois and who are they playing? Michigan State. Illinois at Michigan State. West Virginia at TCU. There's a Big 12 game. Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech. I mention that only because Josh Pastner's an idiot. The coach of Georgia Tech yesterday said that the ACC should get 11 teams in the tournament every year because they're just simply the best team in the best conference in the league. Of all people to make that statement, he's the idiot that definitely does not need to be making it. But what a load of crap. They're not even the I don't know, they're the fifth best conference this year.
Michigan State beating Duke head to head, right? Indiana took FSU to overtime in Tallahassee, and FSU is the best team in the ACC. What does that tell you about the strength?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that good this year. Not
no,
good at all.
It's not. It's not. But the Big 12 is. That's going to be fun. And, Mike brought up a great point about the seeding and how they've got to make all these adjustments now with the Big 10. That's going to be the same for the Big 12 because they're going to get, I don't know, 6, 7 teams, maybe 8, I don't know, in there. So they're going to have the same thing. The SEC is going to have 6 teams in. So that's going to be dispersed. The good thing is the Pac-12, I mean, somebody's going to have to wake them up and let them know that there's an NCAA tournament going on other than USC and UCLA. I don't know that they got much out there.
Oregon and Colorado. Yeah, they're borderline top 25 teams. They'll probably make it.
You know, I saw a stat the other day. Somebody put up a graph. I think it was since, I can't remember if it was since 1990 or 2000, but it had a map of the United States, and it was the states where national champions had come from. I do not believe there was one west of the Mississippi. And since like 90.
Since UCLA 95, they won. They won.
Okay, then it was from 2000.
Yeah. And Arizona 97. Arizona, Lute Olson. 97, they won.
Yeah, so
Arizona might have been the last one. Yeah, 2000. UCLA played for the title in 2006 here in Indy. I remember that. Florida beat them. Ben Howland, yep. And that was Florida's first national championship in basketball. Was 2006. The first of the back-to-back years.
Another thing about Louisville's Chris Mack. The other day I posted Louisville had just come off of a COVID pause, or they were about to come off of a COVID pause when they had to cancel another game. And I'm like, how in the hell do you get COVID coming off of a COVID pause? Well, another thing I saw from Chris Mack, that video, that was a gathering. He said, oh, well, a few neighbors came over and he's catching more flack about being maskless in that video than anything. And he's like, oh, yeah, I have to be better. And a few neighbors stopped by to celebrate, yada, yada, yada. So it turns out, well, that's how the hell you get COVID while you're on a COVID pause, when the damn head coach is partying with the neighbors. How are you going to have an NCAA tournament like this when the coaches are not being responsible?
Well, not every coach, but they're going to be locked up and sequestered in Indianapolis. That's the whole thing. They've got them all in these floors and these bubbles, and they're going to be practicing in everyone's going to have their own floor, and they're going to be in the convention center. That's where the practice courts are going to be. They're going to keep this thing rail tight, and almost like the NBA bubble in Disney that worked pretty well last summer when COVID was worse than it is now. I mean, and I think Indiana, with the way the cases are too, I mean, that's an encouraging sign. We've done about 700 cases a day. You know where it was in December? It was 9,000.
Oh yes, we're a great and to hear
everything is right now. Things are working, and you just gotta. Everywhere I go now, I see people wearing masks. I didn't see that in the summer and even in the fall.
But you know what else?
Finally, now people are taking it seriously.
And you know what, Kevin? The flu has been non-existent. Do you know why? Because people are doing this. This is why there are no flu cases. It's not because of COVID. It's because of people wearing masks and washing their hands and doing all this stuff. If we did this during the winter, every winter, during the winter once, and I might consider it in the future, there would be virtually no sickness. I mean, it's crazy what it has brought down, but people are just, I put myself in the same category. We're just too dumb sometimes for our own good.
I think I'll definitely be wearing masks on airplanes from now on. Every time I go on an airplane because of that recycled air, right? You know what I mean? You just have to, you have to make sure that the engine doesn't fall apart on one of your planes, like out in Denver over the weekend. And you'll be fine.
Yep. What do you have coming up?
I have a story on The Big Trip, which is that documentary that's coming on the Big Ten Network tomorrow. Going to talk to Bob Hamill a little bit, and interesting that I watched it last night. That 1985 team kind of really bonded and gelled together. As you know, Steve Alford is interviewed in it as well, and quite a few players from that 85 team. Tim Garl, that's still the trainer, he's on it. So it'll be it's going to be really well done. I think it's going to be a good documentary. It's going to be on right after the Indiana Rutgers game on BTN. So definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's called The Big Trip, right?
The Big Trip, and it chronicles the 1985 trip that Indiana made over 40 days. And that was, really before. Now you see schools take international trips all the time, but That was really before that, and they had an interesting little fracas with the Yugoslavian team as well back then.
A fracas! I love a good fracas.
Yeah, that you do.
We have fracases here in the Midwest, but I love a good fracas though up in New York, man. What kind of talk? Let's see. We've got we got a minute. Tell me about the fracas.
Oh yeah, well somebody spit on one of the players, and apparently they were whistling on the bus, and that got some I guess they took the same bus to these games, and they were the Indiana players of that day were a little annoyed that the Yugoslavian players were whistling while they were on the bus too. So that was interesting.
It bothered them that they were whistling on the bus. That's a little crazy, but look forward to seeing that, Kevin. I can't think. What do you have coming out next?
Yeah, and obviously a lot of stuff this week leading up to Rutgers and Michigan, and we got spring football around the corner too, which should be really interesting and good deal. And we'll see what Indiana can do here in these last 4 games. This is kind of make or break. And one thing you could say about this team is they haven't lost more than 2 in a row all year. They haven't won more than 2 in a row, but they haven't had the long losing streaks that they've had the last 2 years. But maybe they really have to avoid that. And if they can somehow, find a way to win 2 of these last 4, I think they'll squeak in.
We will certainly find out as we'll stay on it, man. We appreciate you. A great thanks to Mike DeCourcy, of course, and Chronic Hoosier as well. We're back tomorrow. Dylan Senna join me. We'll have Kyle Nedenrip on. See what else we can. I don't know if Jordan Hulls maybe. We'll see what we fill in there, but looking forward to that. The high school season. This is the last week, I think, of the high school regular season. Tournament's getting ready to start and then takes a weird break, but we'll have all that to get to. But man, I can't thank you guys enough as always. Make sure you do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask, please. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
All right.